Hey there everybody, this will be a bit different of a video than I usually do. Usually I'm uploading clips from the streams, but I was asked to upload a basic description of the tools and some tips and tricks. So this is going to be part one of that. It's going to be the tools, descriptions of all the tools, what they do, where you're supposed to use them, and my own personal thoughts on some of them. Nonetheless, kick back, relax, drop a like, comment, subscribe if you like what you see. By all means, ring that bell. And I hope that some people learn stuff. This video is more orientated for beginners who are just starting Phasmophobia and have no idea what each tool is. So, if you already know that, this isn't the video for you. You should go to one of the later ones I'm going to make where I actually talk about tips and tricks for hiding or using tools and show some actual practical use of, the skills that I picked up. Anyway, relax and learn something if you're new, and if you're a veteran, by all means, pop over to one of the other ones or drop some advice down below in the comments. After all, everybody needs to learn something new, and even I learn new stuff constantly in this game. Enjoy, everybody. Alright, welcome to the truck. This is where you'll be once you start your actual match. You want to load up all of your gear that you can get your hands on, and start up a match on whatever difficulty you're going to play on. Amateur is the easiest because nowhere is really blocked off. Like, you can see the little cubby in this room here, or in that hallway, or in that hallway, and then there's lockers in the garages and lots of the maps. You can hide in them on amateur, and I think you can hide in most of them in intermediate. Yeah, most of them in intermediate, a couple of them in professional, then on nightmare sometimes. And only sometimes one. There have been countless matches where we've had no hiding places and had crazy ghosts like revenants and had to do crazy improvisation. They've blocked off a lot of my hiding spots, but there's still lots of hiding spots on most of these maps. So over on the board here, you'll have the name of your ghost, and you'll have different objectives you have to do. This is all pretty cut, straightforward, and no problem. On these lower difficulties, it will tell you that the ghost responds to alone, or together. So that tells you whether or not you can use a spirit box and stuff while you're alone in the room, or whether you're with other people. So always make sure you don't grab the key, don't do a walk of shame. And what I usually do, depending on weather, like if it's pouring rain, I take a flashlight. If it's not pouring rain, I actually skip the flashlight, and I'll grab a video camera. And then I'll grab something else to detect the ghost with, or I'll grab the book. So, to quickly go over these, before I get too far into this, you got your video cameras up here for looking for orbs. You got your dots reticles here, which are what you use to look for, well, dots. They sit up on the ground and create a giant green laser. You got your books right here, and your books are for ghostwriting. You put them down with F. If you put them down with G, the book stays closed. You have to push F to place the book in its open position. Then over here, you have the spirit box, which is very important because you need to be able to talk to the ghost if it talks. Over here, you got your Emf Readers, which are, well, they read any paranormal activity, any electronic signals. So you turn it on, and if the ghost does something and you're pointed at it, it'll beep and light up. I'm sure you'll see that at some point in this. Over here, you got your paramic, and this is very useful for finding the ghost on a big map, and it can be also very useful for figuring out if you have a myling, because a myling will talk to you through this thing quite often. And I have found a few mylings using that thing. Here's your photo cameras. Pretty straightforward, standard cheapo camera. You got 5 pictures on each camera, for a total of 15. You can only take 10 pictures for your book, though. So, only 10 pictures count for money, and then you have 5 pictures to try to take bonus objectives. Like, I've got photo of ghost here. So I could take 10 good pictures, and then try to take a picture of the ghost using the last camera during a hunt, and just, try and take photos while it's blinking in and out of reality. This is your thermo. It'll tell you the temperature, and that will usually help you identify where the ghost currently is. But you have to keep in mind the weather. They've recently added weather, and I currently have snow, so it is cold as hell. So I will see my breath in the house when I find the ghost, most likely. But that doesn't mean that the ghost is freezing temperatures. Just because you have freezing in the house does not mean that you have freezing. So that is something that can really trip you up if you didn't pay attention to the weather. Clear weather is the best because when you see freezing in the house, you have freezing. But all the other weather types, you need to check with the thermostat. You need to get like below -4 if you're using Celsius. I think it's below 20 or around 20 if you're using Fahrenheit. Here are your sanity pills. These are your lifeline for a lot of cases. Because here's your sanity. I'll go more in depth about this later when I start going off about tips. But long story short, when you get around 50% average sanity, your personal sanity doesn't matter, only average, you'll have a chance of getting hunted by the ghost. For most of the ghost types. There are a few exceptions, yokai, 85% sanity hunts. But for the most part, these are great for recovering your sanity after that first hunt when you figure out where the ghost is when you're all set up in the living room and it turns out the ghost is actually downstairs in the basement. Over here you got your lighters for your smudge sticks, which will repel a ghost if it's trying to murder you, and you light the smudge stick near it. And your candles, which will help prevent you from losing sanity at as rapid of a rate. It used to be 100% no sanity loss when you used the candle, but I think that they changed that to be a slowed down sanity loss. So like because I'm alone, if I turn on the lights in the house and I go in with a candle, I will probably have no sanity loss, because when you're playing solo and single player, your sanity drains at half the rate. Here are your crosses. If a ghost spawns within 3 meters of a cross for a hunt, it'll prevent that hunt and rip one of these 2 arms off. Once it rips both arms off, that cross is now useless, and the ghost can hunt from that location without any, problem. If you got a Banshee, however, a Banshee will actually require a 5-meter radius, because the Banshee hates the cross with a burning passion. So, if a Banshee tries to hunt near a cross, and it's like 5 meters away, it'll still prevent it, even though, the cross is miles away. Here's your salt. Salt seems pretty useless. I was hoping that we'd be able to, create salt walls and stuff to prevent the ghost from coming through and whatnot. But, in reality, all salt is good for is finding footprints. So you take your salt, you look at the floor, you push F, and you create a salt pile. If the ghost walks on top of this salt pile, when it's not hunting, it'll potentially leave footprints, which you can then see using a UV flashlight. On to the note of flashlights. On the left here, these big gray behemoths are your old flashlights. They're cheapo flashlights. You start with one when you start the game, and they are poor. You always have one for free. You can buy 3 more, but they are not very good quality, as you can see. They don't really light up very much. They don't provide too much light at all. They provide a little bit of light, but, why would you use a little bit of light when you could use these? The ones on the right are the good flashlight, the strong flashlight. This is the flashlight you will be using most times when you use a flashlight, because unlike the little cheapo over there, which, doesn't provide too much light at all, the strong flashlight provides tons of light. Also, when you're carrying around your flashlight, you don't actually have to hold it in your hand. You can put it away, because you have 3 slots. So you can actually carry 3 different items. And when your flashlight is put away, if you push the T button, it'll turn it on and off. Very useful, important as all hell. If you didn't have that flashlight, you would be screwed in most situations. The middle flashlight is probably the most important of the 3, despite that one being so good. This is your UV flashlight. This is how you look for fingers. This is how you look for feet. This is how you identify most of the ghosts on the list. UV flashlight is incredibly important, but all the evidence types are kind of incredibly important, so that's not surprising that it is, in my mind, the most important of the 3 flashlights. Weird fact. I can carry 3 video cameras, but I cannot carry 2 flashlights. You can carry the UV flashlight alongside one of these 2, but you cannot carry this good flashlight and a poor flashlight. It's one or the other. You might be thinking that the poor flashlight has no purpose, but in reality, a fun trick you can do with the poor flashlight is you can drop them while they're left on. You don't have to keep holding this. You can just go, boop. Look at that. Now there's light in the house, and I don't have to carry that. On that note, I'm just going to leave this here. So, the only things left to go over is this bottom row. This is pretty simple. It's a tripod. You put it down, and you can put cameras on top of it. Video cameras, not photo cameras. So now I have a video camera on a tripod. So if I put that there, I can then come over here and look through that video camera from the truck. So you can check for ghost orbs, or dots, or really most things. If you have somebody in VR, you can set up almost all the tools to be looked at through this camera. It used to be crazy OP. Because, like, I could sit here and I could watch for dots, I could watch for orbs, I could watch for EMF 5, because the EMF reader would be standing up so I could see the different colors on it. And I could look for writing, because the book would be standing up. The only thing I couldn't look for from the truck back in the old days was spirit box and fingerprints. But even fingerprints you could really do if you sit up properly. So, you know, it is what it is. We can't really do that anymore. It's all been reset completely. So, down here, beside the tripods, you have motion trackers, which, when you put them on a wall or on a surface, it'll make it so that you can actually track when something walks past there. It doesn't tell you the difference between people and ghosts, however. So if I put this down, and I walk in front of it, it'll create a beep in there, and it'll light up. And that will tell me that something has walked past there. It could be a player who's alive, it could be a player who is dead, or it could be our ghost. If you look on the map here, you'll see this red line, and when something walks past that, it'll light up green. It'll also make a beep. Right here is a glow stick. I'm pretty sure most people know how glow sticks work, but you click, and it'll snap it, and now it gives you UV light, so you can look for fingerprints, you can look for feet. Rather useful for checking for feet. Great in Hunt, because if you have one in your inventory and you haven't turned it on yet, you can snap it and run away from the ghost. Because one weird thing about the ghost is that it can sense when you have an electronic device on. So if you're holding your flashlight and it's on, the ghost will tell where you are and track you and try to murder you. Same thing with these video cameras. If you have a video camera in your hand and the ghost is trying to kill you, it will know where you are at all times. It doesn't matter how well you hide. Down here you have a sound sensor. These are not the most useful, but they can be very useful. On a very big map, it's very hard to tell where the ghost is. So if you put down a couple sound sensors, you'll see on this chart which sensor is in what room, and it'll give you a gauge of sound, basically, that's happening in that room. So let's say the ghost throws something, you'll get like a 0.4. So these can be incredibly handy if you have a big place and you're not sure where the ghost is still. It's much more useful on lower difficulties. I don't think it's useful on Nightmare at the moment, because the ghost roams way too much. Like you see, I was just running around in there, so there's tons of noise in the foyer. Oh, the ghost might actually be in the foyer. Coincidentally, I think it just did something as well. This big yellow area is where that sound sensor was just placed. So if it detects anything in that entire area, it'll just get called foyer. That was my list of different explanations for how the tools are used. That's also all of the tools that are currently implemented in the game as of 0.4.1.1. We will see if more tools get added to the game over time. Who knows, they might add even more ghosts. These guys just perpetually update this game. If you got any tips and you're a veteran and you want to drop them down below, by all means do. Myself, I always am still learning new stuff about this game, and I'm sure that, you know, new players would love to have some tips and tricks, because there's still new people coming into this game even at this point of it being out for over a year. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, well, make sure you tell me down below. There's a more advanced tips description about where to hide and stuff coming up, well, probably tomorrow. So come back for that, check it out, and until then, stay safe, keep hunting and keep having fun. I'll see you guys around.